My name is Mike Hall, and I've worked as a research coordinator for the Yorkton Research Farm for about 13 years now. The Yorkton Research Farm is a collaboration between Suncrest College and the East Central Research Foundation. In this video, I'll summarize the oat variety testing we have done for grain millers from 2019 to 2024. Over those 6 years, the environmental conditions have differed substantially. This table shows the average oat yields for each year of the study. 2019 was a cool year with below average precipitation. However, soil moisture reserves were excellent, and so were yields, averaging 175 bushels per acre. Low levels of precipitation meant leaf disease levels were low. You can see the crop on July 25th here is looking lush. In 2020, the summer was hot and dry. Soil moisture reserves were exhausted, and yields only averaged 70 bushels per acre. In 2021, the drought continued and the summer was hot. Again, yields only averaged 70 bushels per acre, and you can see the crop is short and is already starting to turn color by July 19. Not looking lush at all. In 2022, the summer was warm and rainfall was above average, ending the 2-year drought. Unfortunately, some of that precipitation came in the form of hail on June 23rd. The hail event was significant, but the crop still managed to produce 140 bushels per acre in the end. In 2023, the year was again hot and dry. Soil moisture reserves were enough, though, to produce 101 bushel per acre crop. Last year, rainfall was adequate, particularly at the beginning of the season, and we managed to pull off 160 bushels per acre. So you can see we tested the varieties over a wide range of environmental conditions. I'm not going to cover results from all varieties grown in every year because I don't want to dwell on varieties with which grain millers may have lost interest. However, when making comparisons between varieties, I'll combine as many years as possible to get as much power as possible for the comparisons. The varieties on this slide have been grown in every single year of the study from 2019 to 2024. I call these the commonly grown varieties, and each one has been color-coded, so they can be quickly compared to new varieties in white. As of 2025, CDC Arborg, CDC Endure, CS Camden, and ORE 3542M are recommended varieties for grain millers in Zone 2. AC Summit was removed from the recommended list, but is still an acceptable variety. CDC Endure is the most recent addition to the recommended list. Based on average data from 6 years, no significant yield differences could be detected between these varieties. However, Arborg and Endure were numerically higher yielding than CS Camden, the Czech, by about 4.3%. This is similar to results obtained from provincial testing. By 2022, Anson, Wesley, Douglas, and Consor have been added to the list. Consor was bred from organic production as an acceptable variety at grain millers. Yield-wise, it is at the bottom of the pile. However, its yield is not statistically lower than any of the commonly grown varieties. Numerically, Consor yielded about 97% of Camden. AAC Douglas, Anson, and Wesley are varieties of interest. Douglas yielded comparatively well, but at approximately 110% the yield of Camden, CDC Anson and Wesley were significantly higher yielding than the commonly grown varieties. While FP Genetics purports good yield for Wesley and boasts that Anson is a very high-yielding variety, provincial trials only list the yield of Wesley and Anson to be 99 and 101% of Camden, respectively. More on that later. In 2024, CDC Bayer and AAC Neville were added to the list. Neville is a yellow-hulled variety. Based on 1 year of data, significant differences between varieties could not be detected. However, numerically, neither of these varieties really stood out. Here are the test weights for the commonly grown varieties averaged over all 6 years of the study. Below the blue arrow, 245 grams per half a liter, milling oats are discounted for milling. Below the red arrow at 230 grams per half a liter, oats will be rejected for milling. AC Summit has a significantly greater test weight than all the other commonly grown varieties. In contrast, CS Camden has a test weight that is significantly lower than all the other varieties. The test weight listed for Camden is also low in provincial information. Despite this, Camden is a very popular variety to grow, and I'm told that there haven't been too many issues regarding test weights for this variety at grain millers. Moving now to varieties grown between 2022 and 2024, Kongsor has a high test weight, slightly higher than AC Summit, which is quite impressive. CDC Anson had the lowest test weight, which is unfortunate when considering it had the highest yield. But maybe this won't become an issue since low test weight doesn't seem to be a concern for CS Camden. AAC Wesley was also high yielding, but it has a test weight more in the middle of the pack, which is more desirable. Camden and Arborg also have low test weights. Not surprised about Camden because of my past experience with this variety, but I would have anticipated a higher test weight for Arborg based on provincial information. In 2024, CDC Bayer and AAC Neville were added to the list. Based on 1 year of data, CDC Bayer had a very low test weight. The provincial information lists it as having a low test weight, but not having a very low test weight. The test weight for Neville was pretty good. To summarize and provide some guidance to selecting a variety, I want to end with this slide. This information is taken from the regional and registration trials conducted in Saskatchewan for Area 3 and 4. Where data is lacking, or where my study results are in disagreement, I've put my own numbers or comments in red. Let's start with the first 6 varieties in this list, which are the recommended or acceptable varieties for grain millers in this zone. Yield-wise, I concur that CDC Arborg and CDC Endure would be my first choice. While our test weights were generally lower than what is listed for Arborg in the provincial information, they were still above those for Camden. If test weight has been an issue for you, then consider growing AC Summit. But we also found the yield for this variety tends to be lower, and the other problem is it has less resistance to lodging. ORE 3542M is lower yielding too, and it has probably been included in the recommended list for those wanting a variety resistant to crown rust. Kongsor is an acceptable variety at grain millers, and it's good for conventional and organic production. We found it to have a high test weight but a relatively low yield, but not significantly lower than most of the recommended varieties. Varieties of interest that caught my attention due to high yield were CDC Anson and AAC Wesley. FP Genetics describes Anson as having very high yield potential, and it was our highest yielding variety. While we saw a 9 to 11% yield increase over CS Camden for Wesley and Anson, the province lists these varieties as only having 1 percentage point difference from Camden, so clearly there's a disconnect here. The only problem we saw with Anson was low test weight, but it was about the same as Camden, so maybe not a problem. Another issue would be protein, as these highest yielding varieties also had the lowest grain protein. High yield seems to always mean lower protein due to yield dilution. The remaining varieties were in the middle of the road, in many regards. But based on only 1 year of data, the test weight for CDC Bayer was particularly low, much lower than its published value in the provincial information. Again, thanks to grain millers for supporting these trials.